Moti Gouge, Mtnr by Rudyard Kipling. Once upon a time there was a coffee planter in India who wished to clear some forest land for coffee planting. When he had cut down all the trees and burned the underwood, the stump still remained. Dynamite is expensive, and slow fire slow. The happy medium for stump clearing is the lord of all the beasts, who is the elephant. He will either push the stumps out of the ground with his tusks, if he has any, or drag them out with ropes. The planter, therefore, hired elephants by ones and twos and threes to fell to work. The very best of all the elephants belonged to the very worst of all the drivers or mahouts, and this superior beast's name was Moti Gouge. He was the absolute property of his mahout, which would never have been the case under native rule, for Moti Gouge was a creature to be desired by kings, and his name, being translated, meant the pearl elephant. Because the British government was in the land, Disa, the mahout, enjoyed his property undisturbed. He was dissipated. When he had made much money through the strength of his elephant, he would get extremely drunk and give Moti Gouge a beating with a tent peg over the tender nail of the forefeet. Moti Gouge never trampled the life out of Disa on these occasions, for he knew that after the beating was over, Disa would embrace his trunk and weep and call him his love and his life and the liver of his soul, and give him some liquor. Moti Gouge was very fond of liquor, arrack for choice, though he would drink palm tree toddy if nothing better offered. Then Disa would go to sleep between Moti Gouge's forefeet, as Disa generally chose the middle of the public road, and as Moti Gouge mounted guard over him, and would not permit horse, foot, or cart to pass by, traffic was congested till Disa saw fit to wake up. There was no sleeping in the daytime on the planter's clearing. The wages were too high to risk. Disa sat on Moti Gouge's neck and gave him orders, while Moti Gouge rooted up the stumps, for he owned a magnificent pair of tusks, or pulled at the end of a rope, for he had a magnificent pair of shoulders, while Disa kicked him behind the ears and said he was the king of elephants. At evening time, Moti Gouge would wash down his 300 pounds weight of green food with a quart of arrack, and Disa would take a share and sing songs between Moti Gouge's legs till it was time to go to bed. Once a week, Disa led Moti Gouge down to the river, and Moti Gouge lay on his side luxuriously in the shallows, while Disa went over him with a coarse swab and a brick. Moti Gouge never mistook the pounding blow of the latter for the smack of the former that warned him to get up and turn over onto the other side. Then Disa would look at his feet and examine his eyes, and turn up the fringes of his mighty ears in case of sores or budding ophthalmia. After inspection, the two would come up with a song from the sea. Moti Gouge, all black and shining, waving a torn tree branch 12 feet long in his trunk, and Disa knotting up his own long wet hair. It was a peaceful, well-paid life, till Disa felt the return of the desire to drink deep. He wished for an orgy. The little draughts that led nowhere were taking the manhood out of him. He went to the planter, and, "My mother is dead," said he, weeping. "She died on the last plantation 2 months ago, and she died once before that when you were working for me last year," said the planter, who knew something of the ways of nativedom. "Then it's my aunt, and she is just the same as a mother to me," said Disa, weeping more than ever. "She has left 18 small children entirely without bread, and it is I who must fill their little stomachs," said Disa, beating his head on the floor. "Who brought the news?" said the planter. "The post," said Disa. "There hasn't been a post here for the past week. Get back to your lines." "A devastating sickness has fallen on my village, and all my wives are dying," yelled Disa, really in tears this time. Call Chihuni, who comes from Disa's village," said the planter. "Chihun, has this woman got a wife?" "He," said Chihun. "No, not a woman in our village would look at him. They'd sooner marry the elephant." Chihun snorted. Disa wept and bellowed. "You will get into a difficulty in a minute," said the planter. "Go back to your work." "Now I will speak the heaven's truth," gulped Disa with an inspiration. "I haven't been drunk for 2 months. I desire to depart in order to get properly drunk afar off and distant from this heavenly plantation. Thus I shall cause no trouble. A flickering smile crossed the planter's face. Disa, he said, you have spoken the truth, and I give you leave on the spot. If anything could be done with Moti Guj while you're away, you know that he will only obey your orders. May the light of the heavens live 40,000 years. I shall be absent but 10 little days. After that, upon my faith and honor and soul, I return. As to the inconsiderable interval, have I the gracious permission of heaven born to call up Moti Guj? Permission was granted, and in answer of Disa's shrill yell, the mighty tusker swung out of the shade of a clump of trees where he had been squirting dust over himself till his master should return. Light of my heart, protector of the drunken, mountain of might, give ear, said Disa, standing in front of him. Moti Guj gave ear and saluted with his trunk. I am going away, said Disa. Moti Guj's eyes twinkled. He liked jaunts as well as his master. One could snatch all manner of nice things from the roadside then. But you fussy old pig, must stay behind and work. The twinkle died out as Moti Guj tried to look delighted. He hated stump hauling on the plantation. It hurt his teeth. I shall be gone for 10 days, oh, delectable one. Hold up your near forefoot, and I'll impress the fact upon it. Warty toad of a dried mud puddle. Disa took a tent peg and banged Moti Guj 10 times on the nails. Moti Guj grunted and shuffled from foot to foot. 10 days, said Disa. You will work and haul and root trees as Chihun here shall order you. Take up Chihun and set him on your neck. Moti Guj curled the tip of his trunk. Chihun put his foot there and was swung onto the neck. Disa handed Chihun the heavy ankus, the iron elephant goad. Chihun thumped Moti Guj's bald head as a paver thumps a curbstone. Moti Guj trumpeted. Be still, hog of the blackwood. Chihun's your master for 10 days. And now bid me goodbye, beast after mine own heart. Oh, my lord, my king, jewel of all created elephants, lily of the herd, preserved your honored health. Be virtuous. Adieu. Moti Guj lapped his trunk around Disa and swung him into the air twice. This was his way of bidding him goodbye. He'll work now, Disa said to the planter. Have I leave to go? The planter nodded, and Disa dived into the woods. Moti Guj went back to haul stumps. Chihun was very kind to him, but he felt unhappy and forlorn for all that. Chihun gave him a ball of spices and tickled him under the chin, and Chihun's little baby cooed to him after work was over, and Chihun's wife called him darling. But Moti Guj was a bachelor by instinct, as Disa was, and he did not understand the domestic emotions. He wanted the light of his universe back again, the drink and drunken slumber, the savage beatings and the savage caresses. Nonetheless, he worked well, and the planter wondered. Disa had wandered along the roads till he met a marriage procession of his own case, and, drinking, dancing, and tippling, had drifted with it past all knowledge of the lapse of time. The morning of the 11th day dawned, and there returned no Disa. Moti Guj was loosened from his ropes for the daily stint. He swung clear, looked around, shrugged his shoulders, and began to walk away, as one having business elsewhere. Hi, ho, come back, you, shouted Chihun. Come back and put me on your neck, misborn mountain. Return, splendor of the hillsides, adornment of all India. Heave to, or I'll bang off every toe of your forefoot. Moti Guj gurgled gently, but did not obey. Chihun ran after him with a rope and caught him up. Moti Guj put his ears forward, and Chihun knew what that meant, though he tried to carry it off with high words. None of your nonsense with me, said he. To your pickets, devil son. Humph, said Moti Guj, and that was all, and the four bent ears. Moti Guj put his hands in his pockets, chewed a branch for a toothpick, and strolled about the clearing, making fun of the other elephants who had just set to work. Chihun reported the state of affairs to the planter, who came out with the dog whip and cracked it furiously. Moti Guj paid the white man the compliment of charging him nearly a quarter of a mile across the clearing and harumphing him into his veranda. Then he stood outside the house, chuckling to himself and shaking all over with the fun of it, as an elephant will. We'll thrash him, said the planter. He shall have the finest thrashing ever elephant received. Give Kala Nag and Nazim 12 foot of chain apiece, and tell them to lay on 20.